Session for April 3rd, 2023 to order. Everybody please rise for this Pledge of Allegiance.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, Mr. Thomas.
Thank you. Jess, can you turn on? Oh, they're on. Never mind. Why isn't that one coming on? The first item this evening is the zoning ordinance amendment. We just had a public hearing on this, so I'm not going to belabor the point. You all know we've been working on this for a few months now on the updates to this. If anybody has any questions, it has been advertised. We've met all the requirements for any amendments to the ordinance. If anybody has any questions, otherwise we would recommend it be put on the agenda for adoption next week.
Discussion. Okay, Jenna.
The second item this evening in your agenda packet, you have a letter of resignation from a planning commission member. At this time, the motion would, for next week, would just be to accept the resignation.
Discussion. Jenna.
Items 3, 4, 5, 6, and 7 are executive session items. Item number 8 is the Plum Creek Park usage request. We have a request, that copy of that request is included in your agenda packets to use fields 7 and 8 at Plum Creek Park, June 12th through the 15th for a baseball camp. This is a camp that they've done. This is the third year in a row they've done this now. This is an event that former Pirates and Steelers participate in for the kids in the community, and it is our understanding that they have coordinated this with the PBSA to make sure there are no conflicts.
Discussion. Jenna.
Okay, item number 9 is the Renton Park Phase 3 bids. As you know, we've been working on Renton Park for quite some time now. We've received, I don't know, $500,000 or so in grant funds at this point.
This is the third phase, and all three have been funded by grants.
Yeah. This is the phase that some council members are eagerly awaiting. This is the pickleball court phase. So we're asking for permission to put this last phase out to bid. We're anticipating awarding a bid in May or June.
Bid awarded May with construction, pre-construction end of May, hopefully construction starting in June.
Okay.
Hey, you laugh about that, but Andre Agassi and John McEnroe just played a big tournament for spectators, but they're going to have an actual tournament and with $1 million pot. So it's really catching on.
Oh, it's very big. Yeah, I agree.
So I know it was funny, and the name of it is still funny, but it is a good sport. So I'm glad we're offering it.
Any more discussion?
Johnny.
Okay, Jenna.
Item number 10 is the Allegheny County Tax Collection Committee. So you know that under Act 32 a few years ago, the ability or the right to collect earned income tax locally was removed from municipalities and given to the counties, except for in Allegheny County is unique in Commonwealth in that they created 3 separate taxing districts in Allegheny County. We are a member of the Southeast Tax Collection Committee. And as such, we have to have one appointed representative and an alternate. Our representative is Mike Whitico, our finance director, but we do need an alternate. In looking at some records, we just found out that our alternate, as of right now, is still Ms. Bedrowski, who hasn't worked here in about 7 years. So it's probably appropriate to change it. Dave Sabosley has volunteered to be that, so we're just hoping to have the resolution adopted appointing Dave as the alternate.
We'll make that an agenda item.
Item number 11 is a proposed 529 college savings plan. We have a representative that is interested in providing a 529 college savings plan to employees, to make it available to employees. This is an employee program, so this is no expense to the borough. Although there would be the opportunity for employees to have this done as a pre-tax payroll deduction. So that would require council approval to move forward with offering this benefit to employees.
Discussion.
Have many of the employees expressed interest in it.
Yeah, we have a couple, yes.
Okay, agenda item.
Item number 12 is the transfer of the ARPA funds. As you know, we got about $3.5 million from the ARPA legislation 2 years ago, the federal legislation. About 99% of that money was earmarked specifically for stormwater projects. There's $16,770 that was not earmarked specifically for projects. That is kind of left over that we haven't spent to date as well. And then there's also about $10,000 in interest earnings that we are allowed to keep interest earnings on grant funds under a certain dollar amount. So there's obviously $27,000 in the ARPA funds. The auditors are suggesting that we need to close that account out, that fund out. We are permitted to just transfer that amount to the general fund for general use, but that would require a fund transfer, which is not budgeted, so we'd have to have council authorize the transfer. In your agenda packets, under finance, we have the proposed resolution. This is the same type of resolution we do annually at the end of the year when we transfer into the capital improvement fund and the street improvement fund.
Discussion. Agenda item.
Item number 13 is the USGA RACP grant resolution. You'll remember last fall, council approved an application with the USGA for an RCAP grant to assist with improvements at Oakmont Country Club that the USGA was requesting for the future opens and championship events at Oakmont Country Club. Council did authorize the grant application. We did receive word from the governor's office that we were granted, because the borough is the recipient of the grant, even though the co-applicant is the USGA, not Oakmont Country Club, it's USGA. We did receive notice from the governor that we were awarded $5 million under our cap, and at this point we would need to have a resolution authorized so that either me or Mr. Doyle can sign the documents on behalf of the borough and the USGA.
Discussion. Agenda item.
Okay. Item number 14 is the console variance request. I don't know, Dave, 2 months ago, 3 months ago, we went through this. These were those variances that the console needed for their new water line that they're putting in. Is this the water line bringing fresh water up, or the water line? I can't remember.
It's the water line going from Old Mine Road to the Allegheny
Okay.
River.
Yeah. So this is the line, the line from the acid mitigation pond program that goes to the Allegheny River. And at the time, you remember that we had suggested that they probably needed this variance request for Stotler Road, and they said, no, we don't need it. Well, they need it. So at the time when they asked for the variances, we didn't have Stotler on because they said they didn't need it. Now they need it, so we have it back on the agenda again for that variance request.
Discussion. Okay, agenda item.
Item number 15 is the Malabar Bridge project change order request. What's that?
Still up to you.
So,
Won't go away.
so the good news is that our budget for this project was $420,000, and with this change order, that'll take us to $420,000. So we're on budget. The bad news is it's a $130,000 change order, and I can tell you, and maybe Mr. Maital or even Mr. Prokopic back there can tell you, the number initially, the change order request from the contractor was much larger initially. I want to say it was at least double that.
Not like that.
So they were able to shave 6 figures off the change order request though.
Can we talk about what required that big of a change order?
So what happened was when when they were starting to excavate the bridge, that what nobody was aware of was that sanitary line that crosses the bridge was completely deflected, and because of the I&I in the sanitary system, we had some heavy rains during the time during construction, and the water that came through that deflected sanitary line washed all of that left-hand side of the culvert away into the stream. The concrete the concrete fell into the stream, and the whole thing was that we were at risk of losing the whole thing, if you remember. So there was a lot of remediation work to get it structurally sound again so we could start working again, plus all the work that had to be done to repair the damage that was done from the leaking sewer line.
And we're still on budget, you said, right?
The original budget for this was $420,000. This change order will take us, I believe, to $423,000 or something like that.
Yeah. Yeah, 420.
And I think that's a good point that the mayor brought up, is that our public works crew
Right.
did an awful lot of this work to keep that number much lower. We rerouted that sewer line for the authority, so that on a temporary basis, we did a lot of the excavation work. The contractor was, I mean, I don't know if you saw the pictures, but at one point, we had the sanitary line being suspended from a steel beam in midair. It was a difficult project, but our public works crew probably saved us in the area of 6 figures as well, I would assume.
And Mike, let me add, I can tell you, you guys are doing a good job with your hires, because we got some really good guys that know how to operate this equipment, and that makes a big difference in this game.
Good job.
Any more discussion? Okay, that brings us to the end of the agenda. Any public comment this evening? Thanks, Eric. I will entertain a moment. A motion to adjourn.
Speak? Yeah, I want to speak. Mr.
Oh,
Chairman,
please come on up. Thank
Yeah,
you.
could you turn on your microphone?
Thanks, Skip.
It's on.
my name's Andy Strano, I live on
You have to put it up to your mouth, sir.
You gotta hold it up.
My name's Andy Strand, I live on Farneth Road. I'm gonna present a problem, it's my problem, and I'm trying to show you that it's council's problem and the taxpayer's problem. Approximately 3 years ago, a pretty big company started dumping dirt at the road. This went on for approximately, I'm gonna say, midsummer to the end of the season, then it started back up early in the spring when the season started to the end. I think that during that, I think maybe the 3rd year, there was a stop order. The borough had a stop order. They were dumping illegally.
Who's they? Who's they?
I think the company is WAP.
Is that the property on Logan Spirit across down by the, it's a different one, okay?
Okay, this sounds crazy, but between the 2.5 years, I'm estimating, and I'm estimating over 600 illegal trucks have gone back our road. Okay, just one day I counted 19 trucks before noon. I had to leave, I come back, and this went on truck after truck till about, I don't know if they quit at 4 or 5. So I'm estimating between 30 and 40 trucks a day for that many months. So like I said, 600 seems like a crazy number, but when you do the math, now not every day was 30 trucks, a lot of days was 30 plus, some were 15, some were 10, okay. It went on to the borough did a stop order, okay? When it started up again, they started up again, and from what I understand, I could be wrong, but he went over the borough's head and went to the state and got a permit legally. So they did one small job last year. I don't know how many trucks went back the road. So they went over the borough's heads to do that. Browntown, the life expectancy of Browntown has been devastated. Farneth, there's cracks on the right, no reason why there's not cracks on the left. When they did Farneth Road, when they finally paved it, they put storm sewers in and they banked the pavement away from the storm sewers. So then they come back and they built it up, I don't know, 6, 8. So on the left, it's real thick. On the right is where you see the cracks. I made copies, I only made 3 copies of the grading permits. I don't know if anybody wants to see these, but I highlighted a bunch of places where, does anybody, the road guy here? I have 2 called out, one for me. What's it called? Except, and I'm not trying to get anybody in trouble, I just want to get this stuff. Anybody else want to come?
I'll give it to Mr. Sabasli.
Sure. Okay, like I said, I highlighted some of the stuff, and like I said, this isn't my thing, so I just seen things that I seen that wasn't according to the borough's criteria. Okay, when you go to page 6, that's the first thing.
Mr. Doyle, I can shed some light on this.
Okay, please.
So, I lose track of the years, they all seem to fold together here, but I want to say about 2.5 years ago, our Public Works Department noticed some trucks up on Farneth Road. Our Community Development Department went up with Public Works and saw that it was a contractor dumping there. It was a contractor working for the authority. Work stopped at that time. They were informed that they needed a grading permit and they needed approval through the Allegheny County Conservation District. About a year or so went by. They had an engineer that they hired. They received the necessary reviews from our borough engineer, and a grading permit was issued. The Allegheny County Conservation District has issued a permit for it also. So they didn't go over our head. They went through the appropriate process. That's fine. That's fine. But they've gone through the process, and I want to say about 6 months ago, Skip had let me know of issues up there, and I asked Mr. Prokopic from our engineering group to go out and look at the road, and we took some pictures at that time for comparison's sake. We don't have this road identified as a weight limited road. We haven't gone through a study. In fact, most of our roads aren't weight limited. You know, the contractor and the homeowner, they have gone through the appropriate process to get the appropriate permits. I don't know what we can do about the truck traffic for you. I know that's certainly a complaint of yours.
Like I said, I'm not even going through this. There's stuff highlighted that I went through, and I'm not a professional. The thing is, if you go down Browntown halfway, in fact, almost the whole way, you'll see there's big, you know, like.
He's right. I did go down there and look at it, and Browntown is considerably starting to get bellied out from the weight of these trucks. And the question I had, Dave, is like we did with the mine over and the reclamation over in Renton, we had that company, they bonded the road. Can we do such a thing here so that the taxpayers don't hold it?
According to your ordinance, and I don't want to interrupt you, according to your ordinance, that's in the ordinance, and I don't know what's involved in bonding. Like I said, if you read through this, that's in there.
Well, if you can go back now and do it.
I mean, the bonding amounts are minimal. You know, the bond, we're limited to the bonding amounts. If it's applicable here, the state of Pennsylvania says you can bond for about $12,000 per road mile. I mean, $12,000 won't even get you mobilization of a crew out there to fix it. It's unfortunate. I would defer to KU Resources and Mr. Maital about you know, any sort of bonding that would have to happen with this. But certainly, I think when KU looked at the request for the grading permit, there was no discussion of bonding on that.
No, because Mr. Sabaz.
Right.
Mr. Sabaz is correct. The state bonding limits are minimal. However, we can sometimes force them into an excess maintenance agreement with the borough. And so I'll be glad to go out and review that. And that's just W Construction.
It's Petracus.
Petracus, okay. So we'll get on that tomorrow.
So the wear and tear, excessive wear and tear on Browntown, does the taxpayers have to eat that? Because like I said, this sounds crazy, but there was well over 600 illegal trucks that went down there before they had this stuff ordered. So this guy's big, so he knew what he was doing. And I'm not trying to get him in trouble. All I want to do is somehow get it stopped. Okay? So what about redoing my Browntown? Who's going to pay for that?
Well, I think you know, the problem is with Browntown is there's so many people that go up and down it.
So not 20, I don't know how much those trucks weigh.
I don't want to argue with you, but you know, the problem comes down to proving it. And we have your testimony is because you're right there on Farneth Road. We can probably, I would say we could probably do something about Farneth Road, but Bulltown, I don't know, or Browntown, excuse me. Name my own street, so.
Only that, you know, I would just like to have it stopped. You know, I measured the width of far, in front of my house is 14, like 14 foot 3 inches. So it's a small road. And yeah, like I said, I don't know the laws, if council could do this, if they could put a weight limit somehow to stop.
You have to go through a study process to do that, and that's again the state rules.
Okay, here's my last question, and I don't want to give you guys a hard time. Suppose another company, there's a valley back there, and Skip, I call Skippy. I never knew Skip. Went back there. Suppose a couple other companies, major companies go back. There's a valley back there that they could get 30 trucks a day for 15 years and still won't fill this valley up. So what happens if, if a couple other companies get wind of this is a good dumping place, and they go to the state or whatever this guy did, what's to stop that? Do I live in an industrial park now? Farther through, it was a nice quiet place. There's dust. I can't even open my windows, my screen windows in the summer.
The permit that they have has defined limits on it, so that's all they could do unless they go get more permits or amend that permit. So if you're talking about, I don't know what they permitted. Typically, it's going to be something over an acre.
Wow.
Yeah, but maybe they only permitted an acre, because if you got over an acre, then it was a whole due review process. So,
Well, the other thing is too, on the ordinance I read where you're not supposed to dump over trees and stumps, which was done, okay? There's a bunch of stuff, like I said, highlighted. I don't want to go through it all. I don't know what to do. Like I said, I come to council. I don't know if you're going to do anything, but because I lived in a quiet place. Now you can't look through the windows.
Well, if it is not clean fill, which I'm sure it was supposed to be, not debris and not
I don't know,
tree stumps and stuff. If it was that kind of stuff, he can be
you
fine.
can revoke the permit.
Pardon me?
It said if it's not clean fill, then we could revoke the permit.
Right. So I think maybe one of our KU representatives has to go and look at it.
Yes.
And document what it is. If there are stumps there, I mean, one or two, nobody's gonna say anything about, but if we're making it a big habit of it, that's a problem, and I get that, because that fill is never gonna compact properly,
Correct.
So there's a problem there, and if there's anything we can do, if he's doing the wrong thing, he's gotta be called on it.
Well, what I'm saying is too, and I agree with you. A lot of the stuff in the ordinance, they didn't do. There's talk about drainage. I had to go one time when it's muddy, when it's raining, I had to go with a wheelbarrow and a shovel and big clumps of dirt in front of my house. There's things in there where they're supposed to clean that up. There's things like I highlighted, like I said, I'm not an engineer or I'm not even that smart, but I can see that it's against the ordinance. So what I'm saying, if this guy's doing things against the ordinance, and there's a thing there too where council could reprieve his permit, that's what I'm asking you to do. I highlighted some things, and there's a lot more things I know I missed that is not going towards the council who did this. It's not abided by it.
Well, we need to look into it
I'm not
first.
trying to get this guy in trouble. I mean, I don't want to see him get fined.
No, but he's gotta live up to his end too, apparently
right.
he's not, so if he's not, and it's blatant, you're right, it is up to us to do something about it, but thanks for bringing it to our attention, now we know
Go
that,
look at it?
Yeah.
If we need to have public works drive down there once every other day to look
if
at it.
there's gonna be like these rain days coming up, if he's hauling in and out of there in mud, he's not allowed to track mud out where that, he's gotta clean the road up. If he's gonna do it that day, he's gotta have somebody there to clean.
They did it one day, they did it one day where it was just a little bit, and they did a broom.
Yeah, it probably had a skid steer.
I got pictures of it, it was like a,
That's
it was like a dust storm.
start.
It was like a dust storm, it was like a dust storm.
Yeah.
So even that brush thing does work, it doesn't worse. I'm just saying,
Our engineer's gonna go look at it tomorrow. He will advise us, and if we need to have public works or him go down every other day, let's get on top of it, we'll see what's going on.
well, that's part of it too, that's part of the ordinance. Part of this, an engineer has to, and it says what kind of engineer, has to go there. I forget how often it says to check that out. And like I said, the first time, when I'm gonna say it one more time, well over 600 trucks, that was never done. None of that was ever done.
Well, I think we need to be advised, if they're working for the water authority, then they need to advise us that they're gonna be dumping today or this week, so we can be aware of that, or are they?
There's no contract with the traders, no.
No.
There's not.
Yeah,
One of the jobs,
I don't know if they still are or not.
one of the jobs, that I talked to the contractor, they were doing a job, a water job in Arnold, Pennsylvania. So they were bringing the stuff from Arnold, Pennsylvania up that road, because the contractor told me that. I mean, he's a nice guy to talk to, you know? So, I mean, it's not even the borough stuff, he's going outside of the borough contracting stuff bringing it in.
Well, if he has a permit, I don't think it's, is it borough-wide? No.
We can't control what comes in and out.
Yeah, okay, so we're gonna get on it, KU, an engineer's gonna go look at it, and then he'll advise Mr. Sabazia and Mr. Thomas, and we'll take it from there and see what else we can do.
I just have a question for Skip. See, on Browntown Road, whereabouts is the?
When you go down past where Donnie Canoff lived,
Yeah,
heading down, Farneth is down at the bottom, you'll see that they're pushing the road pretty bad. It's getting
Okay.
bellied out pretty
all right.
bad.
And pretty much the whole road too, except what's really the cave, it's bellied out, so. Okay, so.
So we have a plan.
Okay,
We have a plan of attack.
Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
thanks for bringing it to our attention.
Anything else from the public?
Thank you.
You're welcome, sir.
Thank you.
Seeing none, I'll entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Motion by Mr. Dern.
Second.
Mr. Hadley, all in favor?
Aye.
We are adjourned. Thank you. Please do me a favor.